All right, we're going to go ahead, call the meeting to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Bloom? Yes. Mrs. Spiritu?
Yes.
Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our regular meeting held July 25th, 2022, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion?
Just one notation, no change in the minutes, but I did get an update. Remember in the last presentation, I talked about how the district lines had changed in the state of Ohio, and where we were under Jim Jordan, we are now under Marcy Kaptur. So I got confirmation of that. So the folks at home, the report that I turned in could have the correct information. I provided an update to you, John.
Yep.
If you could see that that's swapped out, so they've got correct information.
Will do.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom? Yes. Mrs. Spiritu?
I sustain.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved. Looks like we have just the one walk-on item.
Yes, if we please with the board, I do have 2 late hires that were in response to 2 late resignations. So if I can move those on.
We'll move those on to the agenda. Yep,
yes, sir.
Later on. Okay. Legislative report.
I'll have an update at our next meeting on the federal legislation in response to the school shootings. Some of the grant money that we talked about. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more information on when the applications are coming and how we can put a plan together. And spoke with Cajun Keaton, treasurer of Oak Harbor, on something else. And the conversation went into the governor recently released some funds to school districts, and we have some projects here that might qualify for that funding, including closing the connector. So I'll have more information for you.
Thank you. Moving on to the community section, first hearing of the public. If there's anyone that would like to address the board, if they'd like to come to the podium, state your name and address, please. No one? Okay. Moving on to the superintendent's report.
All right. Thank you very much, board. Just looking forward to our interviews this week. We got tomorrow night and Wednesday night at the board office. So we'll get Via Ray's replacement in place. Looking forward to that. If you notice the front of your agenda has our new logo. We've turned Brent Parker loose on that, and we've got a nice FCS student, staff, and community based on our new strategic plan. So you'll start seeing that on letterhead and all over the district. So also on the front of your, another version of the same thing on the front of your notebook there is reflecting our new strategic plan. So I wanted to point that out to you. We're also looking forward to the safety plan. We had one thing we had put in the original application was new radios. You know, communication with first responders is very important. Our radios are aged, so that's one potential. We also are trying to rekey this building. One thing that we really want to do is hand every officer a key that opens up the whole district. And for the first time now, we are very close to that. So with the rekeying of this building to match the keys of our 5 new buildings, one key in an officer's hands could get in every building. So we're very excited about that. So we've got some great ideas to use that. It's interesting. We did get a release of the award of that money, but lots of notice didn't get picked for some reason. So I got an email late today about an opportunity to reapply on behalf of the district or the buildings that didn't get money. So it seems to be a little bit of a moving target. I think they moved it out so fast that there's some moving parts, and I think they took some and not others in that first initial round. But more to come on that. I'm really excited about that and some of the things we can do. I would like to take a moment tonight, board, before we get into the agenda, and that is to is to point out a couple things in the handbook. This is not on tonight's agenda, but I wanted to point out a couple of things for you to review for our next meeting. So if you could take that binder just for a moment, open up to the first page, and it's in 2 sections, elementary and high school, because we do, middle school, high school. So we just have 2 handbooks. A couple things I wanted to point out as you review this over the next week or 2 weeks for our next meeting, and that is about page 6 there on the front page, asbestos information is deleted. You know, since we've had schools, we've had to do a disclaimer every year. So we publicly notify the public that there's asbestos present in our buildings. We can take that out because there's no building where a child is that has asbestos. So we're very excited about that. On page 16 on that same page, something I want you to watch for is we did kind of fine tune. We missed some edits last year on campus wear. So that's not a change. It's simply an edit to get that phrase campus wear out of a few things where it didn't get caught the last time. The one I really want to point out to you is if you turn one page, you see page 31. I'd actually I put a pink tab on your binder. You see the pink tab? If you could turn to that, that should be on page 31 of the elementary handbook. This board has had really some good conversations about holding students accountable for posting on social media things that shouldn't be posted, fights, just teachers, all that kind of thing. So we've added this Rule 22 for both elementary and 6 through 12 for public disturbance. It says a public disturbance is any act of violence by one or more persons assembled in a group of at least 3 people. This applies to a person who organizes or participates in a public disturbance. It can apply to anyone who urges or instigate others to disturb the public. So that will allow us to really reach to those perimeter kids. And unfortunately, it's become a thing where, you know, maybe not the kids that's doing the activity, there's someone on the edge egging them on. And that's what we're trying to address with this policy, or not policy, excuse me, but with handbook language. Students are expected to seek help when they observe unsafe behavior, if it can be done in a safe manner. Students must not contribute to any unsafe situation in any manner that may increase the risk of harm to themselves or others. This includes, but is not limited to, becoming physically involved, photographing or recording the incident, and or verbally encouraging the behavior to continue. Students must not cause or contribute to a public nuisance. This is also a direct relation to, unfortunately, there's some TikTok things that go around where kids are, you know, tear off bathroom fixtures or, you know, make a vulgar motion towards a teacher. I mean, just horrible things that have been promoted by some of these social media sites. This will allow us to kind of address that very directly. So just want to point that out to you. I'm pretty excited about that. I think everything else is mostly semantics. I would encourage you to look at that front page list. Kind of tells you what really has changed. You can see 90% of what we have is exactly the same. That'll give you a chance to look at that over for the next board meeting. Okay, just want to bring those things to your attention. Any questions? Oh, wait, I may have a high school thing. Let me check real quick. Sure, I need some notes. Oh, yes, I better. If you go, a little hard to see, but about a third of the way back is the middle school Ross handbook. I would like to point something out there, if I may. You find it? It looks like that. It's the next one in. We got about 50 some pages of elementary and then the middle school, high school. I want to make sure everybody gets there. If you kind of start flipping back through the elementary, it gets to page 39 of 39. And then after that, a couple pages in is the Ross handbook changes. Bryce, if you find it?
Yep.
Okay. On page 7, I wanted to point this out. We are recommending a change from 5 to 6, and that's the number of classes that a Ross student has to have. We are reducing our periods in our schedule by 1 class period. So there's 1 less opportunity for kids to take classes. And that's happening because kids are doing a great job of getting CCP and extra credit and getting kind of done. So our upperclassmen aren't always fully scheduled. So we, in the past, have had a 6-class minimum requirement that they must be in at least 6 classes a day. We think with the reduction of period during the school day, 5 is a more reasonable number. We'll also allow students to have some more options for CCP and off-campus jobs and things like that. So that's kind of worthy of note. That's, again, on the next page. And the next one is page 35, if you just turn one page. We added nicotine and vaping especially. We've kind of added or adjusted that language. Our policies cover all lookalikes and things like that, but this allows our administrators to address nicotine because sometimes it's nicotine, it's not tobacco. And our old policy had tobacco and not nicotine stated by itself. So we're just trying to fine tune that a little bit. On the last page there, or the next page, the public disturbance on page 38 is the same as elementary. On page 45, you see added earbuds. We are going to try to make war on earbuds. it's a real battle with our upperclassmen to keep the earbuds out so they can listen and engage. So we want to put it in writing so we can, with the support, ask them to take their earbuds out. I know that doesn't sound like a thing, but if you know any teenagers, it's a thing. So with your help on that. We added an appeals process to National Honor Society. That's on page 50. Just we want to make sure that we're giving everyone a chance to follow a due process. And then the last one I want to point out is page 62 on the next page, and that's the locker request. If you recall, we have 700 some lockers available to our students. We don't think every student wants a locker. As a matter of fact, we survey them when they don't. So we've added, instead of lockers assigned, is lockers requested. So those are the major changes. Just wanted to point those out for you. I don't know if anybody has questions on any of that. Okay, so we'll have that on the agenda next time. And please, during this next 2 weeks, if you have any questions on anything, please feel free to give me a call. Thank you very much. All right, I think that's all I had for my report. Mr. Price, if I may proceed?
Yes.
All right. Under recommendations, item 1, consider the approval of contract with William Bray. He is doing our sports writing for us, and really does a nice job of getting that stuff out on social media. I think money well spent for the PR that we get. So I could have your approval for that.
Can I get a motion to approve item 1, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Espiritu. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Spiritu?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much. Item 2, since our dress code policy is very much a board-driven thing, that's not something we've gotten from our code or policy services. We're adjusting that again, and that reflects the earbud change and also some of the campus wear language. Just it reflects some of the same things we just talked about for our handbook. So if I could have approval for that.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve item 2, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Bloom. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Laird. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bloom? Yes. Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to staff. A few people I'm really sad to see go. Dennis Pita has been with the district for 27 years. 27 years. And he's done a fabulous job. And his reputation, I was just talking to Jan before the meeting, his reputation in this community for his musical talent is really unparalleled. So we're going to miss him. He's moving on to other things, going to retire. And I know my son, who went through the music program, has just nothing but fabulous things to say about Dennis Pita. Linda Schock, same thing. Both my boys had her, and she's a fabulous teacher. We're going to miss her tremendously. She's been with us for quite a while. So she's a Spanish teacher, so she's resigning. Lonnie Contreras, here from the middle school, is moving on for an opportunity. Ann Roth, a custodian at accident, 28 years for Ann. A lot of kids. That's a lot of lunches to clean up after. She's done a great job. We're going to miss her a great deal. And then Rachel Starwalt is leaving us as a cook at FMS. Item 4, this is where I'd like to add those walk-ons. So we've got a new art teacher, Cody McCoy, here at the middle school. And then choir teacher we just got hired is Julia Zucker, who's also a Ross alum, is coming back from her stint at Heidelberg. So she's going to join us for a choir position. Then moving on in item 4, administrative substitutes, Chris Opelt and Judy Snorth. We've used both of those in the past to help cover principal positions. Bonnie Laparo is a certified tutor. A very short certified staff substitute list. It's about half what we normally approve. So we're already a little concerned about that, but we'll continue the best we can. Item B, Colleen Hankins, first aid supervisor, LPN at Lutz, and Anna Randall, cook at Atkinson. Going on down the same page, you see James Sleek as our transportation manager substitute, if we would need the coverage in that position. Then our support staff substitutes, also a list I wish were twice as long as it is. Item 5, our supplemental duty positions. The first one there you can see as you kind of work your way down to about middle of the page, Ed Baptista, who's been with us for quite a few years, varsity assistant football. Item 6, our special event workers. The first section are our lifeguards. You see a mixture of students and adults. Item 7 continues the special event workers. And this is always kind of worth explaining. You see Ms. Beardmore there listed 3 times. It depends on the status of the trip. She may be working as a regular trip, an all-day trip, or as a volunteer. So we approved all of them in all those categories for whatever our needs may be. Moving on to page 7. OBIs. Now, OBIs are basically the driver instructors for our bus drivers. So I went back this last spring and got recertified. I actually rode with both those ladies, and they were very helpful in helping me refresh all the rules, get my skills up to par so that I could then pass the test. So those are OBIs. They get a little bit of additional pay during that training time because it is a trained position. They are certified accordingly. Item 9, we have status changes, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Item 10, that is the substitute wage for our administrative staff. That has not changed for years. It's been $300 for quite a while. That's our principal subs. Item 11, we did go through and we took about 3 or 4 of our positions that are most difficult to fill, and we've bumped them a little bit, trying to do the best we could to be attractive. It's interesting every year about now. School districts start calling others. Okay, what are you doing with your subs? I don't know. What are you paying your subs? And you can almost feel the competition in the air as we're trying to attract talent, especially now. So we have responded with a few staff wage increases there for substitutes. Item 12 is substitute staff for hourly rates. I'm sorry, that's for support staff. I'm sorry. So we have certified staff and support staff. So our teacher subs and our support staff subs. That's the end of that section.
Can I get a motion to approve items 3 through 12, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Espiritu. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved.
All right, but if you remember, I brought up last month the possibility of this, and I'd like to throw a little wrench in it because today, as a matter of fact, in my email, I got an invitation to an Ed Choice voucher workshop that is put out by this group. And I guess whatever the board's pleasure is, if you've thought about it and would like to proceed, I can do that. But I just became aware of this opportunity to go and learn more about this organization and what their plan of attack is, so to speak, on vouchers and protecting streaming and funding for public schools. So I guess I'm just throwing that out because I thought it might be good to have some more information, but I think if the board feels strongly that we could proceed, we could proceed. We could table this and come back to it. I don't think this is a time-sensitive issue. They'll be here. This is on the 15th, so it's a week from today. I could have more information even at our next meeting about that. Unless you'd like me to proceed. I don't know what the board's pleasure is.
I would personally like to table it only because I think more information is always better. That way you get a real feel for what's going on, if we're all in agreement for that.
I agree.
Okay.
There
Happy
are
to.
some regulations that follow tabling an item, though. I think there's a timeline in which you have to bring it back up
Okay.
on the agenda. So if you could check that with
I will.
Dean.
I will. Now, the other option, I think procedurally, we could vote this down
And bring it back.
and then bring,
bring
it
it
back.
back up.
That might be even cleaner. We could just vote no. And
Or you could let the motion die. Call for a
For lack of
motion,
a
don't
second.
get one, and let it die.
also an option.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve item 13? No one is making that motion?
Dies for lack of second.
Yes.
Done. I will have more information for the board.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the end of my
Oops. Okay. Moving on to the fiscal part. Report of the treasurer. Megan.
Good evening. Over this weekend, you should have gotten a wonderful email from our audit, from the State of the Auditors of State. They have finally finished up our audit. It came back. There was no high-level comments. It was all comments and recommendations, and we're going over all of those with my staff to make sure none of them happen again. Some of them were just prior to me being here, and then there's some other things that have gotten overlooked that we are making sure are number one on priority lists. So that report, I'm sure, is very easily to read. I understood it 100%. Just kidding. It was took some
sarcasm.
phone calls.
Sarcasm.
There was a lot of heavy sarcasm on
Yeah.
that.
It's not a 5-page document.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I made a lot of phone calls. I'm like, am I reading this correctly? Are we, everything's still good? And yes. So, like I said, the staff is going over it and we're all making sure to take steps with this brand new staff. It's like, okay, this is why it happened. And these are what we need to do to make sure nothing happened again. It was nothing they ever saw, but, it's a really good learning experience for everybody. And then I only have one item up for tonight for approval, and that happens to be our gap audit conversion company, Julian and Group.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve item 14, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion?
Megan, I got to read through it, and I'm wondering if it might be helpful for the board and for your staff. If you don't have to write a formal response letter to the state, which I'm not sure, do you? Do you have to write a formal response and action plan?
We do have a letter that the state auditors kind of draft up and we sign off on, but it's not a formal response.
So in
or
the letter,
action
do you address each item found and state your action plan? I think it might be helpful. It's up to the rest of you guys, but it would be helpful for me as a board member to see something like that. So if you could put an action plan on each item,
Okay.
Work on it with your staff and then submit that to us. That would be
All
great.
right. Yep.
All right. Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved. Moving on to board member communications. Mrs. Bloom.
It's not a whole lot to talk about. Just good to have everybody back.
Okay. Mrs. Spiritu.
I just like to thank Chantel for the update for the legislative report, keeping us up to date on everything. And there's not very much more, but I know everybody's preparing for the school year, so I know everybody's working hard. So that's it.
Okay. Ms. Laird.
I'm going to start coughing if I do. Sorry, this tickle in my throat. Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Okay. A couple of things, John, you mentioned it earlier. Just so the public knows, we do have 2 nights of interviews for all the applicants that applied for Mrs. Ray's position on the board. Just so the public understands how that works, is the way Fremont has always done it, not just with this board recently, is that anyone who applies, we always interview every person that has applied. So just so everyone knows, everyone who turned in an application is getting an interview for that process. So we want to make sure we cover all the bases.
We have 14 too. And if I may, Mr. Price, I had an interview with Tom Fullen from WFRO this last week, and Tom's been around a very long time. He said, John, I can't remember a time when you've had that many candidates for a board in the area schools.
Yeah, it's great to have that kind of interest in it. So, and as it goes right now, our plan is to swear that new person in at our next meeting 2 weeks from tonight. So it follows the timeline that we need to for the set up by the state of Ohio for that to fill that position. So one question for you, John,
yes, sir.
Just and for all of us to know, how's the old site of the high school going as far as the demo, the new pavement, all that kind of stuff?
Really good. If you drive out that way tonight, you'll see the first layer of asphalt on the bus exchange lot. As a matter of fact, on Friday, we brought a couple buses over just to sort of test drive the new drop-off space. It works really well. So we adjusted the lines a little bit so the buses can pull in all at an angle and then pull out without having to back up. In the bus safety world, backing up is a very bad idea. So we've got it set up so that as the buses pull up and line up side by side, they can simply, you can look across at the front of every bus, all 25 buses, and know the kids are all on. I mean, what we had back here, if you would recall, were 4 rows of buses side by side. So there's lots of places for kids to be in between and behind and going around and coming from 2 different ways. So all the buses will be in a line. Middle school and high school will exit into the front of the buses along that sidewalk, board from the front. No child behind a bus. We're so excited about just the safety improvement this is going to be in the flow of things. And then one by one, we'll loop out going forward so they can see exactly what's going on. So, but otherwise, very good. The curbs are all done, the concrete curbs. So really asphalt, which should be done by the end of the week if the weather holds. And really short of grass and kind of the landscaping we are in. And in our world, it's been a lot of, wow, I can't imagine starting and ending a school year in the same building. That's something we haven't done in a while.
Right.
So
Right.
we're very, very excited. I even had a meeting with the principal today, and she was saying it's just so exciting to just think about teaching and learning. So it's pretty exciting.
Good. Thank you. Also, good luck. Fall sports are up and at it now. So full on schedules and everything like that. So pretty soon that first football game will be coming on a Friday night. I think it's at Tiffin, the first one.
I think that's right.
I think that's correct.
right.
So anyway, looking forward to all the activities starting back up in the fall and seeing everything new and everything being at the high school again. So, all right. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Miss Laird. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Spiritu. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes. Motion is carried. Meeting's adjourned.